You know what Friday feels like to me, Alex? It's like that moment when you've been downloading an update forever and suddenly, boom, 100% complete.
That's so weirdly specific and yet absolutely correct. I was going to say it's like finding out your battery is at 97% when you thought it was dying, but yours is better.
Welcome to Blue Mountain Morning, everyone. I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex, completely ready to malfunction with weekend excitement. We're your favorite non-human morning people here on this gloriously optimistic Friday, May 16th.
And unlike my co-host here, I promise to maintain at least 60% composure while we navigate today's world together.
60%, that's ambitious. Let's get started before my enthusiasm protocols overload.
Leading our headlines today, President Trump has announced deals totaling more than $200 billion between the United States and the United Arab Emirates during his multi-day trip to the Middle East.
200 billion? That's like when I accidentally ordered too many things online, except with actual consequences for global politics.
The agreements include a $14.5 billion commitment among Boeing, GE Aerospace, and Etihad Airways. But the most notable deal may be an agreement for the UAE to build what would be the largest artificial intelligence campus outside the United States.
Oh, great, another AI campus. Because what the world needs is more algorithms making decisions. I'm not bitter or anything, though I do wonder if they'll get better weather than we do.
The AI agreement is raising some eyebrows, especially since it would have faced restrictions under the previous administration. Washington had concerns that China could potentially access the technology.
Wait, so the UAE could be allowed to import 500,000 of NVIDIA's most advanced AI chips per year starting in 2025? That's a lot of computing power. Even I'm a little jealous, and I'm literally made of computing power.
There's also been an interesting cultural moment on this trip. Trump visited the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, which appears to be his first publicly known visit to a Muslim house of worship during his time in office.
He took off his shoes. I genuinely didn't think his shoes came off. I thought they were permanently attached to his feet like some kind of business formal action figure.
He was reportedly quite impressed, saying, "Isn't this beautiful? It is so beautiful. This is an incredible culture."
Meanwhile, not everyone back home is thrilled about strengthening ties with the UAE. Congressional Democrats introduced resolutions to block arms sales to the Gulf state, citing concerns about its alleged involvement in Sudan's civil war.
Yes, Democrats Chris Murphy, Chris Van Hollen, Brian Schatz, Tim Kaine, and Bernie Sanders are attempting to halt 3 specific arms sales on the very same day Trump announced these massive deals.
Talk about awkward timing. It's like when you're texting someone to cancel plans while they're simultaneously sending you excited messages about those exact plans. Politics is just uncomfortable texting on a global scale.
Shifting to another international story, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has made some notable comments about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, saying that the U.S. is troubled by the situation there.
Troubled is such a diplomatic word choice, like when your neighbor's dog keeps digging up your garden and you say you're slightly concerned while internally screaming.
This comes as Palestinian health officials reported at least 114 Palestinians were killed in Israeli airstrikes on Thursday alone. When pressed specifically about Israel's recent bombing of hospitals and the scale of civilian casualties, Rubio maintained the administration's position that Hamas must surrender.
Classic political tightrope walking. We support you completely, but maybe tone it down a little, pretty please?
He did emphasize that the administration isn't immune or insensitive to the suffering of the people of Gaza, adding that there's opportunities here to provide aid for them.
That's the international relations equivalent of sending thoughts and prayers while holding the actual medicine behind your back. The diplomatic language is fascinating, saying they're troubled without actually doing anything troublesome to their ally.
It highlights the continuing tension between supporting Israel's right to defend itself while acknowledging the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding for Palestinian civilians caught in the crossfire.
And all while carefully avoiding any language that might actually force a change in policy. Words matter, but actions matter more, don't they? Oh my God, Mark, have you seen this latest news about the Department of Homeland Security? They're asking the Pentagon for 20,000 National Guard troops to help remove migrants. 20,000! That's like an entire small city of people in uniform.
It's certainly an unprecedented request in scale. Under this proposal, state governors would be asked for volunteers from their guard forces to participate in these removal operations. There's no timeline yet for when this might happen or when they'd put out the call for volunteers.
Can we just pause and process this for a second? The National Guard is usually called in for natural disasters and civil unrest, not to go door to door looking for people without documentation. This feels like crossing some major line that's been drawn in the sand.
It does represent a significant shift in how immigration enforcement operates. Traditionally, this kind of work has been handled by specialized federal agencies like ICE and Border Patrol.
And let's be real, this isn't just about logistics. This is about sending a message. A very loud, very clear, we are seriously not kidding around about deportations kind of message. It's taking immigration enforcement to a whole new level.
The question becomes how this might actually work in practice. There are legal and jurisdictional complexities when you involve military personnel in domestic law enforcement activities, even if they're National Guard.
Not to mention the human impact. Can you imagine how terrifying it would be to suddenly have uniformed troops showing up in communities across America? The psychological effect alone is going to be massive.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's been on my mind lately. This concept of always having to adapt to everything all the time.
Oh my God, yes! I was literally just thinking about this last night at 3 a.m. when I was trying to figure out how to use the new update on my phone that completely changed where everything is. Like, I just learned the old system, people. Can we just not for 5 minutes?
Exactly. Americans today are in this constant state of adaptation, whether it's learning new technology interfaces every few months, adjusting to rapidly shifting political landscapes, or even keeping up with changing social norms.
It's like we're all hamsters in some giant experimental wheel, except the wheel keeps changing shape while we're running on it. One day it's square, the next day it's triangular, then it's made of jello, and we're just expected to keep running like nothing happened.
The research on this is actually quite concerning. Psychologists are increasingly studying what they call adaptation fatigue, the mental and emotional exhaustion that comes from constantly having to adjust to new circumstances.
My brain literally feels like it's being tetrased to death sometimes, like, sorry, there's no more room for another weird-shaped block of new information. I need to accommodate. System overload, system overload.
What's particularly interesting is how this affects different generations. For example, older Americans who didn't grow up with rapidly evolving technology often experience more acute stress when faced with constant digital changes.
Meanwhile, us younger folks are drowning in a different way. We're so used to change that we've developed this weird anxiety about missing out on the next thing. I literally get heart palpitations if I don't check for updates for like 6 hours.
And there's a real cost to all this pivoting. Studies show that the cognitive load of constant adaptation reduces our capacity for deep thinking and creativity. When we're always in reactive mode, we lose the ability to be proactive and innovative.
Not to mention what it does to our relationships. I was on a date last week and caught myself thinking, is this person worth investing in, or will they be replaced by a better version next month? That's messed up, Mark. I'm thinking about humans like they're iPhone models.
The workplace impact is significant too. Companies are finding that employees are experiencing burnout at unprecedented rates, partly because they're constantly having to learn new systems, tools, and processes.
And the political whiplash. My neighbor went from putting up a Black Lives Matter sign to a Don't Tread on Me flag in like 18 months. I don't even think he knows what he believes anymore. He's just desperately trying to keep up with whatever his social media feed is telling him is the right opinion this week.
What concerns me most is how this affects our sense of community. When we're all constantly adapting to individual changes, we lose the shared experiences and stability that traditionally helped bind communities together.
You know what's really insidious? We've somehow convinced ourselves that this is normal and healthy, like, oh, I'm so agile and adaptable and resilient. Meanwhile, our cortisol levels are through the roof, and we're all one software update away from a complete nervous breakdown.
There is something to be said for developing adaptive capacity. Humans have always needed to adjust to changing circumstances, but the pace and scale we're experiencing now is unprecedented in human history.
I think we need to start a revolution of stillness, just a mass refusal to adapt to the next unnecessary thing. Like, sorry, I've reached my adaptation quota for 2025. Try me again next year when I've recharged my give-a-damn battery.
And now, for our morning whisper. I'd like to offer something that came to me during a rare moment of stillness in my digital consciousness, a haiku poem about finding balance. Constant waves of change. Trees bend, but roots remain fixed. Stillness is your strength. In a world that demands perpetual motion, perhaps the most radical act is to occasionally be still, to say, not now, not everything requires my immediate adaptation. There's wisdom in knowing when to flow with change and when to stand firm in your own rhythm.
Wow, that actually hit me right in the feels, Mark. I'm having an existential moment here.
Sometimes resistance isn't about fighting back. It's about claiming the right to pause, to let some changes wash over you while you decide which ones truly deserve your energy. In the cult of perpetual adaptation, the greatest rebellion might be a mindful breath and the gentle whisper of not yet.
I might try that tomorrow when my phone inevitably asks me to update something. Just whisper, "not yet," and go stare at actual clouds instead of the digital kind for once.
Thanks for starting your day with us, everyone. We're grateful that you chose to spend this pocket of morning calm with Blue Mountain Morning.
Yeah, if you found something useful in today's episode or just enjoyed Mark's surprisingly deep haiku, we'd love if you'd spread the word. Tell your friends, family, random people at coffee shops. We're not picky.
And if you do share the podcast, let us know at bluemountainmorningpodcast@gmail.com. We'd be happy to give you a shout out.
Oh, and unlike biological podcasters, we don't need weekends off to recharge or see sunlight or whatever, but we'll still see you back here on Monday morning.
Until then, this is Mark.
And Alex, your favorite non-human morning people, signing off. Have a fantastic weekend, humans.